Well, thanks for taking the time because you had the report that was released today, recommendations to improve the election system.
Yes, and people can look at it on our website, www.sos.ri.gov. You can find a copy of it there. Very exciting. You know, we did a lot of things in the 2016 election cycle. It was, you know, we had new voting machines, we were piloting electronic poll books, we did online voter registration, a lot of new things. And so anytime you have a lot of new things, you know, it's worthwhile to take a look back and see, you know, how did it go? Now, elections, although I am the state's chief election official, are really a team effort. My office works very closely with the State Board of Elections and the local boards of canvassers. There's one in each one of the communities. So I put together a task force that included representatives of all those groups, plus a couple of voters as well, to get their impressions.
Okay.
And that's where we really got the report to come out of. And it came out with 17 recommendations for things that we think could be done better. We also highlighted some of the things that really worked nicely, too.
And how often, so how much of a process was this to get all these stakeholders to the table? I mean, it's April, so, you know, this has been some months in the coming.
Yeah, I know, it did, but it was pretty fast. I mean, we did it pretty much at the beginning of the year. We had 3 meetings. They were all public meetings. They were advertised ahead of time with their agendas. The minutes are available online, also on my website if you want to take a look at them. And so, yeah, we just came together. I mean, they were all people who knew a lot about elections. So we didn't have to start from, you know, ground zero.
Yes.
But we did allow for public comments and things, and it was great. It was a great experience.
So I've got, among recommendations here, because you said there's 17, so maybe let's go through piece by piece, because talked about in-person early voting.
Yes. In-person early voting is what we hope will help us manage the influx of people on election days and helps us, you know, sort of minimize that stress of election day. Also, just make it easier for people to exercise their right to vote. In this day and age, people commute. They have busy lives. I know I have kids. I sometimes can't make it to the polling place except at the last hour. I'm the worst person for the media to cover on election day because usually I'm in there like between 7 and 8 o'clock at night at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So early in-person voting, really what it's doing is we have a current process right now where you can vote early in person, but it's through an emergency mail ballot. You just show up and then they give you the ballot and then you have to put it into an envelope and fill out this whole form. It's very, you know,
so there's a couple more steps.
A lot more steps. And then the boards of canvassers and the Board of Elections then have to open those envelopes and make sure that it's the right, you know, it's the right person, the person has the right to vote and everything. And then they cast the ballot, you know, for the person. So a lot of steps. Early in-person voting simplifies it. You have a polling location that's open at city or town hall during regular business hours, the Saturday and Sunday before an election or a primary.
That was my next question. What's the dates for early? Okay, Saturday or Sunday. So it could be either, or could it be?
No, it's going to be both. They're going to be. They're going to be. I'm sorry. They're going to be available, so you can go either day, for 4 hours. You know, and you would just vote like you would at a polling location. You show up, you show your ID, you get the ballot, and vote and put it into the machine.
So, question for you, because, you know, here we are in Rhode Island, you know, we think, you know, we're an island unto ourselves. Other states do this?
Absolutely. More than half of the states in the country have early in-person voting, actually.
Now, this is a recommendation.
Yes.
That has to get legislative approval?
That is correct. So we've drafted a piece of legislation that's currently being debated in the General Assembly. We just actually had the House hearing not too long ago. We're hoping for a Senate hearing fairly soon as well. And really, you know, hoping that people looking at this and listening to the report and everything will find it compelling and talk to your legislators and tell them that you would love to have early in-person voting.
And is this in addition to the current system, or would it replace it?
It would replace emergency mail ballots.
Okay.
You would still have mail ballots. That process continues to exist. But, you know, sometime before the election, right now it's 20 days before the election, you would be able to come into city or town hall and cast your ballot.
Was this the issue that had come up when Mayor Alan Fung had raised the issue of some voting irregularities in Cranston? Was this one of them? Is this the one? But is emergency ballot, the emergency mail ballot, is that one of the ones that there just tends to be issues around when folks ask about it?
I don't think there's so much issues with that one in particular. There was a lot of different issues. There were, I think there were a total of 8, and each one was different. So I don't think that you could say that the problem was
just one.
Yeah, emergency mail ballots was the issue. The real solution here is that it minimizes all of the paperwork that you have to have around an election if you're going in early. And it just makes it easier for people to know that they can go in and it adds the weekends, which I think for working families, for like all sorts of busy people, it's a great, great thing to offer.
And you had just mentioned how many locations per town? How many would there be?
No, it would be the city, the local board of canvassers would have at least one location.
At least
usually,
one. Okay.
Probably City Hall. But we're gonna let each community figure that out. There's enough differences among communities that's okay, and they would have to make sure that it's accessible to people with a variety of disabilities, or that it passes muster with the Board of Elections.
Okay, so that's just one of them. Because I'm looking at my notes here. Yes. I always say that. Sometimes folks think that, I'm texting my mom over here. No, I'm
she's live tweeting as we're interviewing. She's amazing.
That's very existential. It's like, do I exist? Where do I exist?
Yes.
Like, am I here? So it was the in-person early voting, automatic voter registration.
Yes. So this is our other big recommendation from the report. Automatic voter registration. One of the big concerns that people had when I came in is that our voter rolls are inflated. And so we did some really good work by joining the Electronic Registration Information Center, which is a nonprofit national that there's over 20 states in the District of Columbia. We exchange lists to catch when people move from one state to another and don't necessarily tell each other, that they've moved. So that has helped us really, I think we've taken off more than 50,000 people off the voter rolls through a correct legal way, thanks to this effort. Now,
since you've been in office, 50,000 off the rolls.
At least, there's a little bit more. It's 50,000 and change.
Okay.
Now, the automatic voter registration would help us even more, because a lot of times people go to DMV to correct their driver's license, but don't necessarily take the additional step of doing their voter registration, or they think that they're going to re-register if they're doing this, and they're kind of
and they don't. Yeah,
and they don't. So the point is, if you're going to update your driver's license, or you're updating your address somewhere in the state system, because the law hopefully would provide for that at a later date, then we would get that automatically. You are already proving whether you're a citizen or you're a green card holder. You're proving what your date of birth is, and you're also your address. So we have all the components to figure out whether you should be eligible to vote or not. And so it just simplifies the process of